Waitrose. Because hundreds of good, high-quality favourites, like chicken breast, potatoes and unsalted butter, are now at a new, lower price. Waitrose. Food to feel good about. Selected stores, subject to availability. Prices may vary on Little Waitrose, Channel Islands and concessions.
Play Set for Life and you could. £10,000 every month for 30 years. Set for Life. Play now on the National Lottery app. Terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Do you hear that? It might sound like nothing to you, but it's actually the sound of nuclear, wind and solar energy. At EDF, we're busy generating more British zero-carbon electricity than anyone to help keep future energy costs down for everyone and help cut UK carbon emissions to nothing. Sound good to you? Find out more about our zero-carbon generation at edfenergy.com/helpingbritain.
Investing with AJ Bell feels so good, you'll just want to ring that bell anywhere, anytime. In the office, in the pub, on the bus, on a ship, on a train, in the rain, in the gym, in the library, at a wedding, at a librarian's wedding. You can even ring it in space. Underwater. In a sauna! Or just a good old-fashioned cowbell. Yes, that's the sweet sound of investing with AJ Bell. AJ Bell, feel good investing. The value of investments can go down as well as up.
Matthew Wright on LBC. Listen on your smart speaker. Just say, play LBC.
Sarah messages, it's a good message. No, NHS staff shouldn't be automatically prioritised for a mental health treatment. Surely it should be done according to need. What about teachers in need, pilots, police officers, anorexic children? No. Prioritise people according to how desperately they need the service, not according to who employs them. And I can see exactly where Sarah's coming from. But who's going to fix us up if our clinicians are sick? That's what I'm worried about. Well, Sarah, another Sarah's picked up the phone, calling from Stevenage. Good morning to you, Sarah. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello there, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. You're through, you're on air. What would you like to tell us about the NHS? No? I don't know what's happened to Sarah. I thought I could hear her, but she appears to have gone. Let's see if we can get her back. Kim's hanging on the line from Isha. Good morning to you, Kim.
Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
What do you feel about should doctors, first of all, and clinicians jump the queue for mental health support?
Absolutely, and my reason for that is I've been a physio for 40 years in the NHS, but I've got a son who's a doctor, an A&E doctor, and so I see firsthand the moral injury that they deal with on a daily basis. So this isn't about the government just saying we're not wearing face masks anymore and then we're not in lockdown. This is, when you're on ITU and you were helping relatives say goodbye to their relatives to an iPhone, to the patient today, when you're diagnosing, I know that my son, diagnosing really sad news and having to deliver that, pronouncing people dead and then having to deliver that, and then just coming out of the room and carrying on with your day.
Sorry, would you say things have changed since COVID? Because that's clearly what NHS England is implying.
As in, I don't think provision was ever good enough, and I don't think if they did put anything in place, it was actually accessed. I think it must have been there as a tick box exercise. To now say you're taking something away, I think, there's laminated posters on walls saying, in this number you need to speak to somebody.
They'll be tearing them down, Kim. I mean, this is the kind of madness of it. Kim, thank you. Sarah's hanging on the phone. We've got her back from Stevenage. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Good morning. I'm not sure what happened there.
No worries. What would you like to tell us?
Yeah, so I work for a private contractor within the NHS, and just before COVID, we identified that we had a number of staff who were becoming increasingly depressed, and were suggesting that they were on the verge of hurting themselves in one form or another. And as a company, we made the decision that we would bring on-site counselling to our teams.
Okay.
So we started initially with 2 days counselling on site. The uptake was that great that we increased it during COVID, and we've actually increased it again recently.
So the demand is there. There's no doubt about it. The demand is there.
Yeah, the demand is there, but actually what we've seen is a reduction in, obviously, sickness rates. We've seen improved engagement with the frontline team, and we've also seen a happier workforce.
It pays for itself. It pays. This is exactly it, Sarah. If you look after people, if you invest in a health service, you invest in an education system, you end up producing valued members of society. And the opposite produces the opposite effect. It seems so obvious to my little brain, Sarah. Thank you. I'm going to change tack very slightly just for the last few minutes because LBC reporter Fraser Knight is in the studio, and I'm afraid it's with really quite bad news about that major incident in Sydney, which earlier this morning I'd rather hoped hadn't led to any casualties. But Fraser, over to you.
We've just had a statement from New South Wales Police, Matthew, confirming that 5 victims who were stabbed in this attack at Westfield Shopping Centre near Bondi Beach this morning were killed in that. The 5 victims killed, and several others were told who've been taken to hospital in a serious or critical condition. Among them as well, a young child who it's reported is just 9 months old. Horrible situation. This was,
Can I just check, this is 5 in addition to one of the assailants we believe was killed?
It is, yes. So we heard that there was one man who was acting alone. Now, there had been reports of a second suspected attacker, but we are told by the police it was just one man who acted alone in bringing terror to the shopping centre, with the Assistant Commissioner, Anthony Cook, giving us an update saying it was a lone police officer who acted with incredible bravery at shooting that man dead.
A single unit officer, Inspector of Police, was nearby, attended, went into the centre, directed by a range of people. She confronted the offender, who had moved by this stage to level 5. As she continued to walk quickly behind him to catch up with him, he turned, faced her, raised a knife. She discharged a firearm, and that person is now deceased.
And some of the images that we have seen from this attack show a man walking through that shopping centre with what looks like a machete, a very large knife. And, you know, this was a busy Saturday afternoon. Of course, it was around 5 p.m. In Sydney that this took place on Saturday afternoon. A very busy shopping centre, and many people, we understand, were essentially locked in as they evacuated hundreds. We heard reports of shutters coming down in front of the shops, people having to be taken out of changing rooms and taken into store cupboards to keep them safe, while the police came in and worked store to store to move them out. And we've been hearing from those eyewitnesses who've been recalling exactly what they heard inside that shopping centre, first as those stabbings took place, and then second as the police officer shot the assailant dead.
It's just like the worst thing ever. Like, who does that to people? It was insane. It was insanity. I wasn't expecting it. I thought I was going to die.
Just behind me, about 5 gunshots went off. And it was really eerie in there because it was so, there was no noise.
And this was a huge shopping centre as well, Matthew. Just to give you an idea, 445 shops inside this centre, 3,000 parking spaces. It was very, very busy. And we've heard from the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, who said that tragically multiple casualties have been reported, and our first thoughts of all Australians are with those affected and their loved ones. Now, the investigation will turn to exactly what the motive was behind this.
Is there any suggestion at all as to why there was an attack? Anything at all?
There was nothing from the police. They said on scene there was nothing to suggest why this had happened, and so it is going to take some time to do this. Now, many people will jump to this sort of thing and say it was a terror attack, but the crucial thing here is if you declare something as being a terror attack, it's all about motivation. And if you've got no idea what the motive was behind an attack, you can't You can't say that categorically. So it could take some time before they know exactly why this has happened. But as we know, as I say, 5 people stabbed to death, the suspect shot dead, and several others, including a small child, in hospital in a serious condition.
9 months, around 9 months of age. It's the semantics, isn't it, really, of a terror. I totally appreciate what you say, but without doubt, this is a terrifying and thus a terrorising attack.
Absolutely.
But we don't know the motivation just yet.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Fraser. I really appreciate it, albeit that the tragic news to share that 5 killed after this major incident in Sydney. Gosh, what a world we live in, eh? What a world we live in. I could see Zaid hanging on the phone, but I think, Zaid, with respect, I've only got about 10 seconds in which to take your call, so I'm going to have to say apologies to you, Zaid, and to everybody else hanging on the line. It was very reassuring, though, to see how many of you feel that NHS staff should still receive mental health support, should be allowed to jump the queue. Now then, if you've missed any of today's show, I thought it was most interesting, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player, the official LBC app. You can also pause and rewind live radio. Download it now for free from your app store or head to globalplayer.com. I'll be back tomorrow morning from 7. Coming up at 1 p.m, it's Sangeeta Maiska. Up next, Matt Fry. Matt.
Thank you, Matthew. Breaking news this morning, as you just heard from Sydney, where a man has gone on a killing spree in a popular shopping centre in Bondi, stabbing at least 5 people to death before he was shot dead by the police. We will, of course, get you the update. Here, Labour's colourful and outspoken Deputy Leader Angela Rayner has said that she will step down if she's found to have broken the electoral roll law. It's not Watergate or even Partygate, but it is at least a distraction from the issue that Labour really wants to talk about, defence. We will indulge them to talk about that too. Israel is braced for an imminent attack from Iran in retaliation for its bombing of 3 senior Iranian commanders. Could this trigger a wider war in the Middle East? And junior doctors voting with their feet by legging it to other countries.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation, this is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, 5 people have been killed and several badly hurt, including a small child, after a man attacked shoppers with a knife in Sydney. It happened at a mall in Bondi Beach in the afternoon. New South Wales Police's Assistant Commissioner Anthony Cook has been updating reporters.
A single unit officer, Inspector of Police, was nearby, went into the centre directed by a range of people. She confronted the offender. He turned, faced her, raised a knife. She discharged a firearm and that person is now deceased.
This man was in the centre at the time.
Just behind me, about 5 gunshots went off, and it was really eerie in there because it was so. There was no noise. You're in a shopping centre, you're expecting to see people around, talking, and there was just sort of no noise at all.
Detectives say they're not looking for anyone else. Joe Biden says he expects Iran to attack Israel sooner rather than later and is increasing US defense assets in the Middle East. Tehran's been threatening retaliation for the recent bombing of its consulate in Damascus, which killed several senior officers. Racegoers attending today's Grand National have been advised not to drink too much after fighting broke out at Aintree yesterday. 8 people were arrested for affray, assault and drug offences. 3 drones were also seized after they flew over restricted areas. Superintendent Matthew Moscrop told LBC alcohol can be a real issue.
You've got tens of thousands of people who turn up, and the vast majority are sensible, pace themselves, have a good time. The odd person will go off a bit too soon, drink too much and ruin their own day. So we just ask people that at the event itself, don't be overdoing it, pace yourself.
Meanwhile, the RSPCA wants the British Horse Racing Authority to look into the deaths of 2 horses at yesterday's meet. Changes have been made to the course after 4 animals died last year.